Alright, now in this let me try to frame two important queries to look at. One, the same way we have plotted this line chart, right, dynamic line chart, I would like to plot a column chart for this for a very simple reason, or because we have already plotted a column chart here, let me take this column chart, right? So instead of plotting a line chart, we have already plotted a column chart here. On this column chart which I have plotted, I want to do two things. One, I want to highlight which country did he score maximum runs. I want that to be written on my chart. Here, I want to put up some area saying, okay, this person has scored these many runs. Maximum, the maximum runs he has scored against one single country is this much, and that is against this country. This is what I want to write, right? He has scored a maximum of this much against this country. It has to change for every player that I have selected, right? So on the chart itself, I want that information to be inputted. That is one thing which I would like to drive, right? So whatever the information I want to plot on the chart, I'll try to write that story in one single cell. First thing, let's say I'll write it in this cell where I'll make it in white. This cell I'll try to write using some concatenate function. I'll try to write that this is the maximum runs this player has scored, right, again this country. So here I am writing it as a formula using concatenate, where I am saying, okay, equal to concatenate. Okay, so where is that data coming from for us? The countries and the countries. All right, let me see. We had it somewhere. Where was that? Yeah, I think we have it here. Yeah, this is the chart where we have that. This is the location, right? So what I'll write is, here I'll write a very simple message saying concatenate. Okay, I'll write some text of my own here. Maximum of whatever I want to find out, the maximum of this location. So I'll use max of this. So maximum of these many, right? We can think of the English part. Runs are scored against, and here I want to pull out the country name where this match has occurred. So that's where I'll use index again, right? I'll say index because I want to pull the country name corresponding to that matching. So I want to search for, I want to pull out the index in this location, right? I want to pull the index from this location where the matching criteria for me, the row number is the row in which the maximum has occurred. So I will try to do the matching for the maximum I'll try to do the matching of that maximum in this location as an exact match. Wherever that matching has occurred of that maximum in this location, I want to pull out that value. Now, you see it is saying maximum of 577 runs scored against West Indies for this person. Now there is a message that is getting displayed. Maximum of this much runs against this country. Now what I would like to do is that information I want to present it on the chart. Now one way I can do it is, because these are anyhow the formatted cells itself, I can very well pull it onto that cells and get it displayed. Like probably I can pull this chart a little bit down, and one single row I can use it, and in that row I can get this text displayed one way. The other aspect in this case is directly try to display it on the chart itself. Now let's say this is my chart area, right? Let's say this is my chart area. What I'll try to do, or let it be in the original, there is a space here. There is a space here. I'll try to put a text box here. So that is where I can use as many geometric shapes as possible on the chart. Now the way I use them is I keep the chart selected, insert the shapes. So I'll go with the text box. I'll put the text box here. I'll draw an area around it. Right, let's say this is the text box I would like to put. I'll not enter anything into the text box. I'll simply, with that text box selected, I'll put a formula here equal to, I'll point to that location, this one. You see here that message gets displayed. Probably a little bit of more formatting places you have to really look at. Right, I can even try reducing the font or some of the stuff. Now you see the text box which I am displaying, I have reduced the font of this text box. And it displays for every person. So it's something that is displayed on this chart. Right, and what you can see is when you change the name of the person now, even that text box entry also will keep changing. Which is a very decent feature again to use. "101 scored against this country." So you can very well write your own messages. No issues. Any kind of a message can very well be created. And we can very well display all those things on our chart. So that way we are bringing in a lot of dynamicness to our chart. Write your own message. The whole text will change. Or probably the top 3 favorite countries for him. Again, use the same logic. Large. Use the large function. Right. Top 3 favorite countries for him. Probably here in the same example, we use a large function. Right. So I'll simply use equal to large. Right. I'll use the large on this data. I'll take the first largest value and I'll take the second largest value, It all depends on how I manipulate it. Here I don't need to use any kind of a macro or a VBA programming. In most of the places, people think of using a heavy macros and VBA program in all these aspects. But without doing any of this stuff, okay, these are my top three. Now again I'll use a match. I'll use an index and a match together. So I'll simply say index in this area, right? In this area, you match for this number, right? You match for this number in this area, right? So now it says Australia, England and Sri Lanka. Now I can take this information again. So I'll say concatenate once more again. I'll simply say concatenate and I'll use, okay, top 3 favorite teams for this person, right? Then I'll put Australia, and just the spacing, Australia and England and Sri Lanka. Now you will get Australia, England and Sri Lanka, and probably what you can very well do is bring it onto the chart. Again create one more text box element. Let's say at the bottom of the chart here, create this text box element. Here you are simply linking this text box element equal to that location. Just pointing it to that location, you can just do a formatting of it. So top 3 favorite teams are this one. And again you can remove the color, fill, everything. Right, so you can very well get into the formatting, shape fill, nothing, and even the outline is nothing. Now you are getting exactly as one more text place. These are the top 3 favorite teams. Now again change it. So you can very well make the chart as, on the chart itself you can make things very interactive by using this kind of mechanism. So maximum of 1096 against Sri Lanka. Top 3 favorite teams are Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan and England. So the content, the moment you see that the content is changing in the graph, it looks more and more attractive. Right, on the graph itself, the moment you are seeing that the information relating to that graph is changing, right, it becomes more and more as a good presentation out of the dashboard. So you can write the form. Probably if you don't want a person to look at it, see, at the end of the day, either you put a protection to this entire zone, so no one will know where you are getting all these things from. You can hide off all these areas. Let's say if you are not using all this, right from here till your last, let's say right from here till the last, I'll simply do a hiding. I do the hide of this entire cell. Now only this much is visible. Only my, right, only my area relating to the dashboard is visible. Rest all I have hidden. Right, so we can very well make this stuff probably even from here till the bottom we can hide it out depending on how we are positioning all these things. The moment we bring all of them to a location and we position it, then we can take care of that part. The moment I am unhiding it, again all these are taken out. And one more aspect here to make our chart even more look better. Let's say in this chart, how would it be if I highlight in that chart, right? In that chart, let's say the one which is having the maximum score, that itself highlighted with a different color. Right? Probably here all of them are with the same color. Right? Now I want, let's say, top 1 or top 2 or top 3 with a different color. Right? Then the logic which I am using to plot such kind of thing is there is no such feature basically. The logic which I will use is I will create one more column which will contain the values only if it is in the top 3. Which will contain the value only if it is in the top 3. So this is just a logic which I am trying to apply. There is no such aspect called it can create it parallelly. I am creating one more column here. Yeah, using large. So I'll say new runs column. I'll create one more column called new runs, where I'll say if this runs is greater than or equal to, let's say I want to plot top 3 with a different color. The top 3 countries with a different color I want to plot. So all I am doing is I am creating one more column saying if this runs is greater than the third largest value. Only 3 of them will be like that. The large of this array and 3. The third largest, if this number is greater than or equal to the third largest value, I am saying copy the runs as it is. Otherwise, leave it as blank. Now, what is it doing in this process? Only wherever it is greater or it is in the top 3, only those 3 are copied. Rest all are not copied. Right? Now, what I am doing is I'll add that chart. Is it at least greater than or equal to the third largest element. So only 3 of them will have that value. Right? So because I want to plot only 3, I am saying is it greater than or equal to at least the third largest element. If it is greater than or equal to, I will plot the number as it is. Otherwise, I will remove it. Now in that process, what I am doing is I will come to this chart again. I will edit this chart again. Right? These are all workaround. There is no straightforward way of doing this. Right? And when I do this, I do a select data, add a new row which we have created. Right? Wherever, yeah. Add a new row or new data source which we have created. Let it be whatever name. I don't want to keep the name, or probably I'll remove it later. New runs is the name. And there, this is the graph. Fine. I'll plot it only with this data. Now what is happening in this process? I'm seeing, okay, I have plotted it as a line graph. Okay, this is plotted as a line. Now I'll try to, oh no, this is plotted as this line, which is neurons. Yeah, this is neuron. So this is plotted as a line graph. Now instead of line, I'll again change it to the column itself. Instead of line, I'll change it to the column itself, wherein now you see this is superimposed over the other. This is superimposed over the other, and probably I'll change the color of it just to make it to my color. So it's nothing but I've actually created two different columns, right? If at all you are not getting it, the way what you can do is you plot it on a parallel axis. You plot it on a parallel axis, secondary axis, then one will superimpose the other. Because I already have a secondary axis here, I am directly getting it. But if you are getting them as two adjacent elements, okay, let me do the plotting separately for you. Let's say this is the graph I have, right? I want to plot between Australia, countries. Just look at this one, countries, runs, and neurons. Let's assume that these are the only three elements I want to plot. I am going for a insert column chart. By default, what happens is this column chart will give like this, side by side. Now, as a part of the, but I want it one overlapped over the other, so that I should see that the blue goes off and the red should come on the top. So what I'll do is, this entire graph, I select these three items, which are the only top three, and make them plotted on the secondary axis. That's it. They have overlapped. So the blue is there on the back side. Yeah, but because the numbers are same, it is completely perfectly superimposed. Now to eliminate all these things, I'll remove this. I'll remove the clue and everything regarding that. And even the secondary axis I'll not show. People may get it out. So secondary axis I'll not show. At the max I'll show only the x-axis and the primary axis. Now it's a clear-cut indication that only, for this person, only these three elements. So these are the three areas in which he is strong at. So the moment I change the name of the person, the chart is also updated. So this is entirely driven through your logic. All these things are purely driven through your logic itself. The more and more you are creating your formulas. Now for this person, these three countries are highlighted. Right, and even this 937 are scored against Sri Lanka. Your chart is updated, top three favorite teams are updated. All this story is clearly updated, and even here if you see, Australia is not coming up in this list. Okay, but here when we are plotting it out, we are seeing that these are the three countries against which his performance is much better. So two things that can very well be done in this to make the chart more and more interactive, or more and more what you call attractive or dynamic. Put the text on the chart wherever required. Right, put the text like this, some kind of analysis on the chart itself. Right, that then and there seeing that, and probably this kind of coloring exercise using two different colors. Sometimes I keep getting people keep asking me, if it is positive, can I have it with one color, and negative, can I have it with another color? Same logic. Wherever the number is negative, you take it as one more column, apart from the original column. Put it in that, get it superimposed. Put it as a parallel graph, get it superimposed with a different color. Because they are two different charts. Otherwise, what you have to do is manually you have to go everywhere and select this location and change it as a different color. Then it is nowhere dynamic. Right? People can very well make all 8 colors, all 8 headings are all 8 charts as 8 different colors. But that is a manual move. Whereas this is, we are driving through a formula. The graph becomes more and more interactive or more and more attractive the moment I am able to do this. Probably you can mention it somewhere. Red is the top 3 performances. Something like that. That can make the graph even more attractive. So all we are doing in this process is create one more data element. Probably we are not showing our data elements all the time. So the whole key in behind creating all dynamic dashboards is handling our data through formulas in a very effective manner. Right? The more and more we are using the formulas effectively, the more and more we can create almost virtually any kind of a chart. Right? And even conditional formatting is another area where we can derive the biggest advantage also. So conditional formatting, charts, formulas all put together, the presentation of this dashboards is becoming more and more exciting. Right?